Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
It's here, it's finally here. The first day of the season is upon us and the Crawley Crypto Bros are the first visitors to Brunton Park. We look ahead to the big opening weekend clash and discuss whether United can get off to a good start in the new campaign. Just saying before we recorded there, Dan, I think we've spoken to each other more than we have our respective wives this week, haven't we?
Yes.
It's certainly been a busy one, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say how are you doing, but I only spoke to you the other day, didn't I? So it's a bit...
Yesterday,
yeah.
About 24 hours ago,
yeah. It's all good, isn't it, really? Just well, it's 2 days to go as we record, obviously, as people listen, it's going to be one or the day off. But yeah, really exciting, the new campaign upon us, isn't it?
Glad it's here. Early start, 30th of July. Not many seasons kick off in July.
I can't think if it ever has done
Christ,
before.
when I first started going, it was the 30th of August.
They used to be quite late, didn't they? Used to have a lot of Tuesday night games. It was a strange one, wasn't it? Yeah, well, there you go. Before we get going, just a reminder to everybody that the podcast this season is being sponsored by the Carlisle United Supporters Club London branch once again. The London branch is open to all Carlisle United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore and, of course, every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips as well as arranging many social events, sports games and fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section of Season 2. You can find out more information about the London branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. And obviously just a reminder as well, if you don't already, subscribe to the podcast. All good podcast apps you can find us. Search for the Brunton Bugle on them. It's Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just search for us and click like or subscribe, and whenever a new episode comes out, it'll come straight into your little inbox. And if you give us a review as well, always appreciated. And as well, you can follow us on social media. Just search for the Brunton Bugle, you'll find us on whatever platform it's on, at Brunton Bugle on Twitter and Instagram. And also you can email us bruntonbugle@gmail.com. Well, let's get into it, Dan. Only a few little bits of news to cover in the first part of the episode this week, isn't there, really? One we sort of half covered, didn't we? On the last episode, I think it's fair to say, is the departure of Max Kilsby on loan to Annan Athletic.
Yeah, this came out when we were recording yesterday, the Carlisle preview episode. Good sensible move. He's sort of a left-sided defender. We've got Armour and Dickinson at left wing back. We've got Mellish and possibly one more incoming at some point. He's better playing proper football than just playing training and odd reserve or youth game. It's a good loan for him.
Yeah, it's a really good move, I think. And I mean, you mentioned that he's a left-sided defender. Well, he couldn't pick a better person to learn from, could he? In terms of that, of course, Annan Athletic boss is Peter Murphy, United's record outfield appearance holder.
One thing to note with it, mentioning Annan, obviously Annan play under the Scottish FA, so it is technically an international loan, and there will be no recall until January. We
can bring him back, but he'd only be able to play in reserve games. Basically, he won't be able. In fact, I'm not even sure he'll be able to play in official reserve games.
I think literally bounce games, and that would be
probably. But yeah, a great move for him as well to go to a club. I mean, obviously he's going to probably get a bit of game time because former Blues youngster Matty Douglas is out with a knee injury, just had an operation on. They've had a fantastic start to the season, haven't they? I know you follow a bit of Scottish football a bit more than I do. But they're doing really well.
They won the League Cup group, which St Johnstone were in there, Queen of the South, who were obviously a bigger local team. They won, and their reward is a home tie to Aberdeen in the next round.
It's a terrific draw, that, isn't it?
Which is on the same night as Carlisle against some team from Manchester's kids or reserves or something. I don't know.
Well, put it this way, I'd much rather travel up to go and watch Annan play Aberdeen than I would go to watch that game, shall we say. Yes. But no, it's fantastic. He could make his league debut this weekend against Stranraer. You'd imagine. I mean, I'm not sure what the makeup is of League 2 in Scotland this season, but the problem is the teams that come up from like the Highland or whatever leagues, the Southern leagues in Scotland, tend to be well backed down. They tend to just go straight through, quite a few of them, don't they? Into League One.
Cove have, Kelty have. This season it's Bonnyrigg Rose.
Oh, terrific.
I don't know if Bonnyrigg Rose have quite the backing of a Cove or a Kelty, who both had considerable.
I mean, Edinburgh City had a bit of backing, and they've sort of stalled a bit, haven't they? They've struggled to.
They went up after the playoff against Annan at the end of last season.
Yeah,
but you look in that league, and Dumbarton are probably the biggest team coming down.
Yeah,
there's no reason why Annan can't be up in the mix again.
It's one of those ones, if he has a terrific first half of the season, you look and think, great, he's shown he can play men's football. You then potentially look and say, right, we'll extend your contract another year and you can stay on loan there. If we're doing well, we don't need him to come back. That works well for both clubs, doesn't it, really? It just, like I said, it's a much better move than sending him somewhere like, with all respect to these clubs, the likes of Workington and even, Penrith and your Kendalls. Workington's obviously higher than Penrith and Kendall, I appreciate that, but if you see what I mean, it's basically a good standard, isn't it, basically, for you to go to and learn from. And, you get these big games against the likes of Aberdeen. It's a real good test room. So, fantastic news for Max. And hopefully, we'll keep an eye, obviously, on how he's doing throughout the season. We'll get updates for each episode, like we did last season with the loan updates, and see how he's getting on. One other bit of news that came out literally as we dropped our episode last night, obviously.
And we fully expect this to be announced one way or the other once we finish recording.
Either that or while we're recording. We're keeping a very close eye on this, aren't we, really, in terms of the times we're finishing and things. But Jamie Devitt has been offered a deal, as we expected he would be. So Paul Simpson's confirmed this. He's basically said the deal's been offered to Jamie. He's having a bit of time to think about it. I don't think they were training yesterday and Wednesday, from what I can gather, but that's obviously when we spoke to Simo, so I presume that they had a day off. Now, so what Simo said is he's been offered a deal where if he plays, he'll be on pretty much what he was on last season. If he doesn't play, he won't be. That's not saying he's not getting any money at all. It just means his basic's going to be a lot lower, basically, isn't it? Essentially.
It's a form of pay as you play, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, people think when you hear the words pay as you play, if they don't play, they don't get paid. That's not the way pay as you play works usually. It basically means you get a very basic.
Say, for example, no idea about these figures. Say he was on £1,000 a week last season. Yeah. What that essentially means is he will probably get a basic of 500, and if he's in the 18, he'll get the other 500.
Yeah. And
if he's out injured, he'll just get the basic 500. I think, give or take, there'll be other caveats and some bobs, but
it's a weird one because we're going to be talking about this, and yet by the time this comes out, people will probably know if he's staying or going, because Simmer has said he needs an answer by Thursday because he needs to know whether he's going to be involved at the weekend. We don't know whether he's there today or not. We haven't seen any pictures or anything, so we're not 100% sure. But there's a lot of people talk as if, we should be making a better offer. We've got to be realistic with the stats. His appearances over the last few seasons haven't been that high. I
counted it up. He's made 47 appearances in all competitions in 3 seasons while being at 5 different clubs.
So basically he's averaging about 16 appearances a season.
Yeah, which isn't brilliant, but obviously he has had a couple of bad injuries in that time.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously the other one.
On the flip side, it's widely known that he's basically a good egg.
Yeah,
he's brilliant in and around the squad. He's good for morale. He gets it. He gets the club.
He's a good example to younger players as well. They can learn a lot from him too.
Yeah.
Like I said, we are a bit short on experience, and experienced players can be hard to come across, especially ones that are going to.
We are a little bit short in the middle of the pitch as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's one of those ones as well. I've said, you get a much better offer the National League. I think you'd have to take a lower level National League club, even because I don't think like a Wrexham or something. But I might be wrong on this. I might be completely wrong, but I don't think a Wrexham's going to come in and offer him big money to go there because they want someone who's going to start most weeks. So realistically, we're probably his last chance to get a decent deal at a Football League club. So the question there is, 30, 31 is he now? Whether he wants to take that. 32, sorry, he's a little older than. Yeah. So it's whether that he thinks, one last season in the Football League, have a good go at it. And then maybe next season, you'd look for a club a bit nearer to home. Also, he's based in, I think, Crawley now these days, isn't he? Round about that way. So that might be the way he looks at it. So It's 50-50. Like I said, for all we know, it'll get announced at 4 o'clock just after we finish recording today.
Yeah.
Typical. But yeah, if he is, just ignore everything we've just said. So there you go.
I personally hope he signs.
Yeah, I do. I'd agree with you there. I think he's a real asset potentially.
I think for the deal and that, I think he'd be worth it, and but we're not him, and it's not for us to say.
No, exactly. He may well have half his other priorities. He might look and think, well, even if he's just used us to get himself fit during the preseason, I've no problem with that because he's clearly been a good character in the dressing room. He's not caused any problems, and it's no major problem to Simo, at the end of the day. So we can lock on and focus on that elsewhere potentially. But yeah, that's where that is. Just a little quick update on one other thing. In terms of the away tickets, they've just announced about the Shrewsbury Cup game, haven't they, Dan? I've just seen that on the official website today. So for the Carabao Cup tie at Shrewsbury in a couple of weeks' time, tickets are £10 for adults. So it's a decent deal there if you're thinking of going down. They don't go up on the day as well, so you can make a last-minute decision if you want to go down. I'll be certainly driving down to that one from Liverpool. But yeah, it's nice to see that as any clubs at this, the start of the season. I think last season when we played Sheffield United, I think it was £15 to get in, which for a Championship club at home against a League Two club, I thought was a bit much, quite frankly. I think they could have reduced that a bit further, but yeah. So that's where we are in terms of that. I don't think there's any other news to cover, is there, Dan? I'm just sort of looking through the website now.
Not really, no.
No, obviously, I think the club have announced that they've continued the sponsorship with Rickaby's as well in terms of all the pitch equipment and things like that.
Nice picture of Simo in his tractor.
Absolutely love it. I didn't realise, actually, remember this the other day. I think his dad works for Rickaby's, didn't he? Or did up until, I think he was still working then. He was 80. That was a few years ago. So yeah, that's a bit of a family link with Rickaby's there in a way as well. So. Fantastic to see. But yeah, other than that, I'm just, like I said, I'm looking through it, and I don't think there's any other bits of news really to cover. I mean, I suppose we haven't really covered the Morecambe game too much. We sort of briefly covered on in some of the preview bits, didn't we? But a decent performance against a good League One side, wasn't it, really, in that game? So yeah, got to take that on board and look at the positives there, I think. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and just like I said, I think we're getting close to the lineup we want to pick there. Because it's a bit of a shorter show today, because we haven't actually got a match to review. That's the one problem. Normally we do a match review bit here when we've got 10 or 15 minutes, but obviously we haven't got that.
Speaking of reviews, one thing we are going to mention is we want a little bit more interaction with you, the listener, this season. So one of my magic ideas over the summer was the 60-second summary, where we are going to invite 2 or 3 listeners an episode to send us a 60-second summary of the game. So obviously after the game on Saturday against Crawley, we'll put a tweet out. We'll pick 3 of you and we'll DM you, and we'll probably use WhatsApp voice note because we can transfer that over onto our system. And basically, you review the game in 60 seconds. And apart from listening to me, Mike and Lee talk about the game, we get a bit of alternative view, and it also gives us more discussion points.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way we're thinking about with that. We're going to try and do a few little bit more things on match days on our Instagram and Twitter channels as well. Maybe we're going to look at doing that. It might even start this weekend. I know I've said I'm going to be doing this before, but I'm going to try and do it on Saturday. Basically, I'll be travelling up to the game with Mike on the train, so we'll do a few little bits on our Instagram stories feed, basically, and talking about the game, talking about going up to matches, our favourite opening day games. I mean, if you look at the last 10 years or so, there's not been many enjoyable opening day fixtures for us, is there? I think, is it maybe 2 wins in the last, or maybe 1 win in the last 10 years?
There was a table came out the other day where one of the worst teams in the country on the opening day in the last 10 years, I think we got 7 points or something.
If I'm right, then I think it might only be 1 win in there, possibly. I think we beat Crawley, funny enough, actually, didn't we, a couple of years ago?
I think it'd be 1 win, 3 or 4 draws, and the rest defeats, I think it was.
Yeah, we had some bad results in the opening day. I look back through that just before. So yeah, there you go. Right, well, before we get into talking about Crawley Town, let's talk to a Crawley fan. It's obviously one of the sections that's carried over again from the last couple of seasons, is the behind enemy lines section. So yeah, this is the bit where we sit down and have a crack for about 10-15 minutes with an opposition fan about their team and how they're getting on of late, and their hopes for the weeks ahead, months ahead, and that kind of thing. And this time out, we obviously with Crawley Town, we spoke to Sam, who is from the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance, which is a voice of the supporters. I think it's like I don't know if it's their equivalent of the trust or that kind of thing, but yeah, basically we spoke to Sam about Crawley Town. Touched on a few topics. I mean, the main one we talked about was obviously the takeover by the crypto organisation, which me and Dan will talk about shortly as well. But yeah, talks about that and a few other bits about Dom Telford and and obviously Ashley Addison as well, former Blue, who's at his hometown club now and doing all right there by all accounts. So there you go. So here's the chat I had with Sam earlier this week. Sam, thanks for joining us on the Brunton Bugle this week for the preview episode. Had the big season opener between Carl United and Crawley Town at Brunton Park. Yeah, it's obviously the new season's upon us. How confident are you feeling about the Red Devils' chances for this season in League Two? Because you've had a few seasons where you've actually done all right, haven't you? You've been sort of mid-table, and we'll talk about the new owners in a minute. But it seems like there's maybe a little bit more positivity around the club at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had a few seasons where we've kind of been in mid-table and flirted with the playoffs. Had a good cup run and beat Leeds in the FA Cup at home a few years ago during COVID as well. But with the new ownership, which we'll come on to, and the new signings, hopefully we can creep into that top 7 this season. Yeah,
let's talk about the takeover then. So, I mean, see, for those listening who don't know, Crawley were taken over by Wagme United earlier this year, which is it's a sort of crypto sports ownership sort of group, isn't it? I think they're looking to own a few things around the world. I think what their plan is. It's certainly created a lot of headlines, and probably fair to say a bit of concern amongst some sort of football finance experts. I know they tried to buy into Bradford City and they were quickly chased from there. But what's the Crawley fans' thoughts on it? I mean, understandably, you're going to be excited when someone comes in and said they're going to put money into the team, but is there a little bit of concern about the links between crypto and NFTs and that kind of thing?
I think to start with, there's a bit of quite a lot of people are sceptical, but as we've gone on, they've been very engaging with the fans. So we've seen and heard a lot of them recently, and I think that's always a strong indicator that they're going to be okay when you kind of hear and see lots of them when they first take over a club, and some of our previous owners haven't been that visual. So that's been a real positive. They did an NFT launch, which they, unlike Liverpool, they didn't aim it at the Crawley fans. Mm-hmm. They were aiming it at the people in maybe America and the Web3 community, and trying to get people to buy into Crawley for NFTs. And they sold over 9,000. So and that's pretty incredible. Bear in mind, obviously, we're a League Two club. So so they've put their money where their mouth is, which is obviously a positive in terms of the signings we've made. And I think a lot of people who maybe were sceptical before are now quite positive around what could be this season around the corner. And ultimately, I've said to a lot of people recently that there's a lot of clubs and you don't know where the money's come from with the owners. Mm-hmm. So whereas these guys, we've been informed by the EFL that they've had to put up 2 years worth of money to pay for the club to run. So we've got that, and then you've got the AFT money on top of that. So these guys aren't silly. They haven't made money easily. They've had to work for it hard. So and it's great they've picked us. I think it could be a really exciting journey.
Yeah, obviously one of the things they said when they took over is the classic line you get from any sort of a new owner coming in, isn't it? We want to get them to the Premier League in however many years. And it's good headlines, isn't it, I suppose? But what do you think is a realistic ambition for the club in years to come? Because obviously some of the stories that have been written about this have made the point about the fact that at the moment you do have, the second lowest average attendance in the EFL. So they've got a challenge on their hands, haven't they?
Yeah, you're right. And if you look at Bradford, the other team, as you said earlier, they tried to buy two totally different clubs. Obviously, Bradford used to be in the Premier League, massive supporter base. Crawley only ever been highest in mid-table League One, really small fan base. So I think, look, they've looked at the Bournemouth model when they were struggling in the fourth division at the time, and they got to Premier League, and they think they can do it with us. I can see similarities, but look, it is definitely a dream of the future. That is, I think they want to come in, they want to grow the fan base locally and on the web community, and then they want to try and get into League One within 2 years. I think let's look at that for the next 2 years and then go from there. Obviously, recent years gone by, in the last 10, 15 years, Burton have had a couple of years in the Championship, as have Yeovil. Similar sized clubs, really, especially Burton, who have kind of gone on a similar journey to us. That would be the dream for me, probably, to get to Championship. But I think that they've got some money behind them, that's for sure. And hopefully, actually, a lot of people have been talking about the cost of living crisis, and we're a club very close to London. Can everyone afford to go and watch their teams play in London with their families? By the time you bought a match ticket, train costs, they've reduced the ticket prices by a third this season, so an adult and a child can go to all 23 games for just over £200. So
that's pretty good.
Amazing value. So hopefully we'll be able to increase the fan base and go on a fantastic journey.
Yeah. Let's move on then to talking about in terms of things on the pitch, or even in the dugout, shall we say? I mean, we'll not talk about John Yenziv's departure at the end of last season. We all know what's happened there. It's pretty unsavoury, I think it's fair to say. But the arrival of Kevin Betsy's certainly an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, most fans, certainly Carlisle fans, remember him as a pacey winger for Wickham. He was a very good player for them. But as a coach, he's obviously started out at Fulham, and then he's done some really good work at the FA and with Arsenal under 23s. Maybe seen as a little bit of a coup to get someone like that in as your manager. How impressed are you with the work he's done so far?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting appointment. And if you look at what Nottingham Forest have done recently and what Forest Green did last year, those two managers have had a history working in the English Football League and have done the England team have gone into the English Football League and done really well. I think the good thing about Kevin is not only has he worked for Arsenal and England as a coach, he's worked with young players, wants to play a good style of football. He's also played in all four leagues, so he's got a variety of experience there. He talks really good talk in interviews, but very realistic, and as I've said numerous times, that I can say whatever I want in interviews, but the talk needs to be done on the pitch. I think the players have bought into him. The only risk for me is for the first 10, 15 games is he wants to play out from the back, which is fine, which we don't know how he killed, but we don't want to be trying to do it too much and have mistakes at this level. But I think he has spoke about that, and hopefully that won't be the case. But I'm pretty excited. I think he's attracted some good players. We've signed James Balaghese on loan from Liverpool. He signed the new deal there and then went out on loan to us. You don't get players on loan from Liverpool easily, but he used to work with Kevin Betsy. So I think that between him and Dan Machichi, the assistant manager, they're going to attract some good players, and hopefully Kevin will be able to get us promoted. Obviously, he hasn't worked as a manager in the Football League yet, but nor did Rob Edwards, who got Forest Green promoted last year. So who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting to see. Obviously, in working at the FA, we were discussing before we started recording. Obviously, our manager Paul Simpson knows him quite well from his time in the FA. So it sounds like if he's looking at players that he's worked with during his time working with England and the youth sides, we're probably battling for similar players, because Simo's been signing a few players he's worked with before. So that's quite interesting, wasn't it? It'd be interesting to see them against each other in the dugout at the weekend. In terms of your squad, let's talk about, obviously you mentioned a few signings and things like that. I mean, the standout one thing for most lower league fans, at least, especially in League Two, is Dom Telford. It was quite a surprise, I think it's fair to say, to see him turning up at Crawley. There was talk of League One clubs being interested in him. I mean, it's an interesting one because he had a terrific season, obviously, for Newport, but he did have a long dry spell towards the end of the season, and there may be some concern that, is he going to refine that scoring touch? I think he scored one in his last 12 or something like that, I think it was. How happy are you with him? How happy are you with him as a signing? Do you think he's potentially going to rediscover that form?
Yeah, I think I was absolutely astounded when we signed him. I couldn't believe it, especially who he's linked with, and I'm pretty sure we're probably paying him a good whack to be here. But I think if we can get given service, he'll be a 20-goal a season player for sure. And I don't think a player like that comes here just to be mid-table. He's come here to get promoted. Yeah. He believes in the project. So very, very excited, really. And yes, and a lot of people said, on top of what you said, that he's only really had one good season. Yeah. But he has been around a while. He's had a good stint at Bristol Rovers. He knows Tom Nichols, another one of our strikers. So, and I think we played Hearts in a pre-season friendly, and he got 2 goals. And his second goal was top quality. And I think if we can give him the service, he's definitely going to be a threat again this year.
It's just interesting you mentioned Nichols. He's one I've always really liked. Every time we've played against you guys, he's always really impressed me. Someone who's always impressed me when he's playing for you guys and playing for us is Ashton Edison. Obviously, he had 2 loan spells at Brunton Bugle, very popular player, full of running and chipped in a few goals as well. Obviously, he turned down a deal at Fleetwood a few years ago to come back to Crawley because it's his hometown club, and he signed a new deal with you guys in the summer, I think. How's he got on over the last few years at Crawley? He doesn't seem to have quite found the same scoring form he did for us when he was on loan.
No, I think Ashley's a good League Two player. The thing he needs to go on and to the next level is he needs to score more goals. Yeah. So he scored 10 goals last year. He's got lots of pace, but sometimes his finishing can let him down. And if he can score a goal, he'll go on to have a fantastic end to his career. And I think it'll be interesting how Kevin Bettsley works in this year. But I know that Bradford and Doncaster are in for him during the summer. So some two top teams there, but he wanted to stay local. He just got married. He wants to stay in Crawley, and it's good we gave him a 2-year deal. We're very pleased he's kept on with Tom Nichols and Kwesi Appiah and obviously Dom Telford. Not sure how many games will start this year, but he's definitely a great striker to have in the squad. But just probably see a few more goals from him, really.
Yeah, I mean, looking for your squad as well, there's a good mix of experience in there. So you've got some very old players there. And Glenn Morris, obviously, a 38-year-old goalkeeper, and Craig and Lynch at the back. Adding Dion Conroy as well as a signing seems to be a decent one. He was a captain at Swindon last season. So again, how's he done so far in pre-season?
Yeah, he's done all right. He's definitely a ball player centre half, and Kevin Bettsley signed 2 ball playing centre halves and said that's very much how he wants to play. Not too sure how Joel Lynch and Tony Craig will fit into that, but hopefully they'll be used because obviously their experience at the League Two is vital. Obviously Dion's played at League Two for a couple of years now, but it'll be interesting to see who does start in our. Because we'll definitely play a 3-5-2 formation this season. Who slots in there, and who Kevin prefers to play. In the back three and whereabouts, but Dion will definitely slot in there and start, I think. But yeah, we've got some experienced players in the middle of the park as well. And what I really like is we've only really lost one player from our squad last year. So finished 12th last year, and he really lost one player who was a regular starter, and then added a lot of players. So hopefully we'll only be going upwards of 12th place this year.
Yeah. Before I get on to the predictions for this weekend's game, Sam, just ask you, have you been to Brunton Park before? I'd just like to know if you have, what's your thoughts on it, if you've been up, and what do you think of it as a ground? And...
I went there as a 16-year-old in 2004.
Wow.
I remember we lost in the 81st minute.
1-0, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that. Tell you what, funny enough, the player who scored the goal that day, Craig Farrell, he actually died recently. It's quite a sad story, really. He's only about 37, but I think that was the last goal he scored for us, actually, from what I remember. So yeah, I remember that game well. After I can remember we scored in all kinds of games, but yeah, that was quite a while ago.
Yeah. So I haven't been since. It's kind of obviously where Crawley is kind of one of those journeys where you're like, I've done it. I'm not
longest journey of the season, isn't it?
But we've been really unlucky, actually. I think 3 of the last 4 years we've been away first game of the season to yourselves again on top of this, and then Hartlepool. So 3 really, really long journeys. So, but obviously Carlisle under Paul Simpson, that ended really well last season. So it'll be interesting to see how you guys do this year.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. He's obviously staying on. He's got a 3-year deal, so he's actually got time to rebuild something here. Rather than often when you give managers a 2-year deal, there's a risk that they're thinking, well, I've got to try and earn myself a new deal the season after, so I need to get it right straight away. But the club back him basically, and they're giving him time to build something decent. And yeah, our pre-season has gone pretty well, so you never know. We're quietly confident. We're not crowing about finishing in the playoffs or top 3 or anything, but I think we believe we can push towards a top half finish at the very least. Sam, thanks for giving up your time today. Really appreciate it. Before we finish, I'd like to get your prediction for this weekend's game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over 2-2 draw.
Oh, bloody goals!
Yeah, I think with our new style of play, I think we potentially concede a couple of goals, but also we've got some goals in us. Obviously, we want to start with a win, but I think a draw away from home on the first day of the season is never a bad result.
Yeah, and I'm sure Ashton Addison will get at least one of them. As is Sod's Law. Sam, thanks for giving me time, and after this weekend, good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you.
Cheers. Well, thanks once again to Sam for giving up his time to speak to us this week. It seems quite optimistic, doesn't he, really, of Crawley's chances for the season ahead, Dan? I mean, as we said there, obviously they've been sort of probably exceeded expectations in some of the recent seasons, finishing mid-table, but now they've probably got ambitions to finish a bit higher, which, I'm sure they'll be aiming
certainly
for.
A different season with the whole crypto and WAGMI thing. It'll be one to keep an eye on, sort of thing, and see how it goes. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about a little bit about that after the break, but we're going to take a short break now. Like I said, it's a shorter episode than normal. We'll still have the half-time break. And before we do, I've got a little quiz question for you, Dan. So it's quite similar, actually, to the one we asked on the CFC season preview one. But obviously, as we mentioned there, our record on the opening day in recent seasons is pretty appalling, isn't it? I think it's fair to say. Last 10 seasons just haven't really turned up for a lot of games. So my question is, the 7 players have scored on the opening day for us in the last 10 seasons. Can you name those 7 players? So that's your question there. 7 players. So we'll take a short break now and we're back, and then maybe just before we get into the PvP, you can have a crack and we'll see if we can get that right. So here's the break.
Hi, I'm Paul Simpson from the football club. Welcome to the Brunton Bugle.
There you go. Our best pal now, isn't he? Big old Simo there on the halftime break clip. People have been asking for more of them. That's another one of yours, Dan, isn't it, that you managed to nab when you were at the shirt launching. So before the break, I did say to you, Dan, the question was the 7 players who scored on the opening day for us in the last 10 seasons. So
right,
you know one of them already because you guessed him yesterday. So
I got 2 of them yesterday, I think, because
I think you only got 1 because you went for Sagaf was one of them, and he was actually the second game.
No. I mentioned another game, but I think they were wrong answers. There was a game where McCurdy and Skugel scored.
Yes, sorry, you did get Skugel as well, I should say. Yes, so you got those 2. Yeah, McCurdy and Skugel the first 2.
And our visions of when we got beat at Exeter, was it Richie Bennett scored?
Absolutely right. Richie Bennett did score in that game in the opening day of the season.
Now, was there not a game? Are you including the trophy? Because we started the season with it.
I should say league fixtures, I should say.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say we did start with a trophy game one season, didn't we?
Because Gimme Terrio would count as one then, but he doesn't.
I can remember we played Swindon on the first game of the season up here, but I can't think who scored. And going back to another game from yesterday, when Jamie Devitt got sent off, Reggie Lamb put us in the lead, didn't he?
He did in that game. Reggie Lamb is one of them.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else we've played on the first game. Last 10 years. We played Luton, but we got beat, didn't we?
Yeah. One of them. Okay, so
we got hang on. In the last 10 years, we got hammered off Orient, didn't we?
Yeah, that was the first of the 10 years.
I'm sure. Was it Amu scored that game?
Yes, he did. He scored because I think it made it.
Was it a penalty?
I think it was.
A penalty?
Yeah, it was a penalty. I remember. I think he was brought down for it. So yeah, so you've got
there's an away game I can't think of. And I'm not going to get that one.
Okay, do you want me to give you a clue on the away game that you're thinking of?
Yeah.
It was away at Mansfield. It was an open day of the season.
I want to take an educated guess at Jabbo for that.
Yep.
Because it was about his time. Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was Jabbo, and I think if I'm right, that is a debut goal as well, funny enough. Obviously, it goes back further than the 3 we had last night, but
and I can't think of the other one.
The other one you couldn't quite get. You were right when you said it's Swindon. It was Luke Joyce, so there's no surprise you wouldn't get that one. We played
Swindon twice on the first day, then, haven't we?
Yeah, so Luke Joyce was the one who scored in the opening days. 2-1 defeat to Swindon. Paul Mullard actually scored for Swindon that day. I completely forgot he was at Swindon. So there you go. So that's it. That's the question of the week. If anyone at home is trying out, good luck to you. Hopefully you've managed to get all 7. A bit of a challenge to try and get Joyce. I think that's the one that'll catch people out. I think it's fair to say. It's interesting. Yeah, worth knowing. I think 4 of those players were signed by Keith Curl. I think out of the 7. If I'm right, Amu was signed by. Was he signed by Greg or was he signed by? Yeah, he was signed by Greg, wasn't he? Amu. And then Skugel was signed by McCurdy, obviously by Stephen Presley. So there you go. Right, Crawley Town, Dan. Let's talk about them. Opening game of the season. A repeat of that opening game where McCurdy and Skugel both scored in a 2-1 win. Again, that I think was Lewis Young sent off in that game for them. Late on, I seem to remember. Something happened. I think it was a push or something, or maybe he went in a 2-footed challenge. Can't seem to remember, basically.
18-19 was that, I think?
Yes, possibly. I think that was when it was.
I'm just bringing it up on the computer now. No, 1920, I think it'll have been.
Yeah, but 19.
Because 18 was Exeter. Yeah, yes. It was Crawley. Yes, they had Louis Young sent off last minute.
Well, there you go. Yes. So yes, that God, it's mad, isn't it? How it's repeated itself again. I mean, Crawley apparently have had a bit of a rotten luck in terms of opening day season. They've also played Hartlepool on the opening day of the season away, I think last season. So they've had some journeys to make.
I wonder if they request for one of their longest first, because you can make some requests on your fixture sheet.
That's very true. To be
I mean,
fair,
you obviously put in about certain derby games and certain dates I don't want, and if the Scunthorpe flower show's on, Scunthorpe don't want to play at home, etc. That sort of thing.
I'd love to go to Scunthorpe flower show.
It'd be more exciting than going to Scunthorpe for nothing.
No, then certainly would. Normally, at this point, we'd do the referee section and talk about a bit about them. Referee for this game, it's his first Football League game. It's Thomas Kirk. So Thomas Kirk is the referee. I've just got his details.
Thomas Kirk is an estate agent in the Manchester area, because my mate messaged me who the referee was, and I did a search, and he did National League last season. So.
Well, you say he did National League last season. He only covered 7 games last season.
That's wrong.
League.
That's wrong. For some reason on Soccerbase, it's not a full list. There is other sites that show his full list, but
unless he maybe he was he might be running the line on some of those games. Sometimes that's what
possibly.
So it may well be. But yeah, there's only 7 showing on Soccerbase, and Soccerbase normally covers them all. But there you go. So yeah, his last game was one of the playoff games. It was the Solihull beating Chesterfield 3-1, which I think was one of the semi-finals, wasn't it? Actually, if I remember rightly. So yeah, it's a big game for him coming in his first game as a referee, isn't it? So that'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Paddock, you know what to do.
Yep, the 4th officials, Graham Fivey and Paul Newhouse. Sorry, the assistants, I should say. I think they've both worked together at Brunton Park before, from what I can remember. And Matt Corlett is the 4th official. Not a name that I recognise, so I'm guessing that's a new one possibly as well. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a nice warm welcome for them to the Football League for the first time. It's fair to say. So on from there, head to head against Crawley. Sorry, my finger isn't loading up here. I had them all up a minute ago. My computer's playing up. All that talk of things going smoothly the other day is coming back to bite me on the backside. So head to head, Dan. We've got a pretty good record against them, I think it's fair to say. 10 wins, that's including obviously the game of the National League, with 7 draws and 3 defeats. So yeah, pretty comfortable with in terms of how that went. Looking at how they did last season, they finished in 12th place, dead in the middle. It's basically been where they've been for the last few seasons, isn't it? I think we predicted them to go down a few years ago, where they're just stubborn and won't go, will they? So basically now they're almost like a bit of the furniture in League Two, aren't they? I think it's fair to say, and obviously with the takeover and stuff like that, it's going. You'd hope for them from strength to strength. Kevin Betty coming in as manager, very interesting appointment, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, like we've alluded to earlier, and obviously Sam mentioned, it's all change at Crawley. It's interesting, exciting, nervous. Yeah, the whole crypto ownership thing. But
I mean, our fans all remember Betsy, weren't they, quite well from when he was at Wickham. He was a really good winger for them, wasn't he? Always a danger. He's done pretty well for himself coaching wise, hasn't he? Obviously, he started out at Fulham, which is the club he started out as a player. Went to the FA, he's done quite a few of the age groups there. Worked with Simmer while he was there as well. Then he's gone to Arsenal under 23s. You can argue it's a bit of a coup, isn't it, to get someone who's head coach of Arsenal under 23s to come in and to take over. But then I suppose Salford City have got Neil Wood from Man United doing the same thing, haven't they? So it's interesting, two similar-ish appointments at this level. Betty's a good one, though, I think, for Crawley, and that he should be able to pick up some of the decent young players from around London.
You would think he'd have a good knowledge and database of potential signings.
Obviously, knowing the ones that are going to be too good and not going to want to come there, but he'll know the ones that are probably suitable for that level and can come in. So I think quite an interesting move there. In terms of transfers, we talked about it already on the preview episode, but Dom Telford and Dion Conroy, the two standout ones, aren't they? I think it's fair to say in terms of the impact that we expect them to have.
Big season for Telford, to show last year wasn't a flash in the pan, because compared to the rest of his career, it probably is.
Not many players get a chance to do it twice, do they? At one level, really, in terms of showing the top goal scorers. Quite often they move up to a higher level, don't they? So interesting to see how he actually gets on. And if he has a bad start, for the amount of money they're paying him, the pressure could actually be quite on for him to perform. Conroy was obviously captain at Swindon last season, good addition, and James Balagizzi, I think it is. Sorry, I don't know how you pronounce it, but on loan from Liverpool should be an interesting signing as well. So I mean, I am curious to see how they get on this season, because if they get off to a good start with a new manager in like Betsy, they could actually do quite well. But the pressure will be on it. Obviously, before we get into other bits, the takeover, Dan, that's one of the interesting parts, isn't it, for them? Wagme United have come in. They're a sports and crypto organisation. I think they're aiming to be like one of these groups that owns several different clubs around the world, aren't they? Crawley Town being the first of them. They were chased out of Bradford quite quickly when they tried to take over there. Crawley's a different size of club, so maybe a bit easier for them to get involved there. It's risky business, isn't it, this kind of thing? Because I mean, I won't profess to be a total expert on crypto, but I've got a half-decent understanding. I've read plenty online, and plenty of football financial experts seem to be like, it is a big risk for the club, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's unconventional, isn't it? You know, I mean, 99.9% of football clubs bring money in, spend it, make profit or loss.
Yeah.
Crypto, yes, they'll still be doing that, but the ways of bringing money in are very different. You know, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, it's all very new. It's quite unrestricted marketplace. It's
unregulated.
Volatile. You know, it's
risky.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, they seem to be doing okay at the moment, but whether people will keep interest in it, I don't know. I think it's fair to say. Interesting, some of the things they've done, obviously, they have a poll for season ticket holders and for those who've got involved in the NFTs and that kind of thing, to decide what position player they should sign next for the manager. I mean, things like this, whenever they do stuff like this, I'm just thinking, don't get fans involved in this. Just let the manager get on with it and sign who he wants. I think most fans are well aware when position. I mean, if our fans were asked it, they'd probably go for a defender. I think it's fair to say. I think if a
defender, a striker, then a midfielder probably at the moment.
Yeah, you know. But I think the priority would be defender. I think most fans would agree. So you'd probably get the right answer. But it's just I don't get it. I've seen that they've done a thing about scouting as well, haven't they? A prize or something that basically something like, is it £1,200 prize for whoever does the best scouting report on us, which is a very weird way of doing things, isn't it? I'm not sure I'd like that with us, to be honest, but
no,
yeah, very strange behaviour from Crawley. But there you go. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're coming to this game hoping to get off to a good start, as we are, obviously, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. I mean, we're not going to do things like overall form and last time out because there isn't anything to report, is there? Quick looking through their squad, Dan, they've made some solid additions, haven't they? And they've still got a bit of experience in there. The likes of Tony Craig and Joel Lynch and Glenn Morris are all in their mid to late 30s. So there's a bit of, know-how there. And I think we all agree that one player we've always really liked in recent seasons is Nichols up front for them as well. You talk about Telford and Naddison, obviously, but Nichols is certainly someone who's impressed, hasn't he?
Yeah, they've actually not got too bad a strike force, have they? But again, it's not so much on the pitch; it's off the pitch as well. It really will be interesting to see how it plays out. It really will be.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, even in midfield, you've got your likes of Hessenthaler. And I mean, Jack Payne's down there. I thought Jack Payne had left them for some reason, but he's still listed, so I presume he's still there anyway. But yeah, so they've got some really good quality players, and I'm sure they'll be I can see them finishing in a very similar position to last season, which is not any disgrace really when you consider how low their attendances are and things like that. So yeah, it'd be a decent season for them. Quickly, in terms of United, how are you feeling we're going to line up? I mean, injury wise, obviously we know that Senior and Dixon are both out. Dickinson is a bit touch and go. Whether Devitt's involved depends on whether he signs. One thing that fans might not be aware of is that Mary Patrick's partner is due to give birth tomorrow. That's the due date for their daughter. So, there's a chance he might miss the game, possibly. You never know, do you? So that's one thing to bear as well, actually. But yeah, in terms of the team, what are you expecting Simmer to go with?
Hawley, back, Armour, Mellish, Feeney, Barkley, Moxon and Guy, Gibson, and it'll be Edmondson and either Dennis or Patrick.
Okay, so that's what we're going with then. Yeah, you know what, I 100% agree with you. I think Dickinson, if he's fit, I think he might be involved. But the fact that he hasn't trained much maybe suggests that he'll be used as a sub possibly. But then obviously you've got your options on the bench, haven't you? You've got either Patrick or Dennis on there. You've got Toby on there.
It goes back to what we said about starters and finishers in the preview episode.
Sonny Hilton on there, Corey Whelan be one of your backup defenders, and Gab Breeze, I guess, would be the keeper. So there's plenty of options there. Interesting to see if Nick Ballardo's involved again, though, on the bench, possibly. There's potentially going to be a space there to fill. And
Toby.
Yeah, obviously, you mentioned Toby, obviously, then, there's plenty of chance for those players to be involved.
And, of course, we can use 5 of the 7.
Yeah, exactly that. So there you go. So that's what we're thinking in terms of the lineup. So I don't think we're going to be too far off getting that right. I think it's fair to say this week.
Barring any last minute.
Yeah, additions. Yeah, exactly. Predictions, Dan. So Mike is going to keep a track of these this last season. We said we were going to last season, but it just ended up so many games coming thick and fast we never got the chance. So Mike's going to keep an eye on it. So as we've always done this, basically, we predict the score and who we think the Carl United goal scorers are going to be. So what are you going to go for this game?
3-1 win with goals from Gibson, Edmondson and Dennis.
Okay. See, I was going to go with a 3-1 win as well, actually. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go 3-1 win. And I think you're going to see goals from Mellish, Edmondson, and Owen Moxon will score in his debut as well. So you got 2 debut goals there from Moxon and Edmondson, basically, because we banged on about we haven't had enough of those recently. So there you go. Let's see what Mike's prediction is for this game.
I am going to go for a 3-1 win with Edmondson, Barkley and Show Silver with the goals.
Well, all 3 of us are backing Edmondson to score, so there's basically it all depends on who scores the goals if the result is right, doesn't it? So that'll be very interesting to see what happens there. So there's Mike's predictions there. Dan, do you want to quickly bash through the ex-Blues before we finish
there's not much this week. Adam Clayton has been named Doncaster captain. Former Keith Curle mega signing James Hooper has signed for Danny Granger's Workington Reds, which was an interesting one. One I think we alluded to, and it's been confirmed, was Shmal George to Livingston.
Yeah.
Former scholar Elliot Day has gone to Whitley Bay.
Yeah.
And the more obscure one of the week, this was on the Ground Guru Twitter.
Yes.
Cardiff City Academy manager David Hughes has joined Man United as a pro development phase coach on the under-21s.
There you go. Two one-game wonders in the ex-Blues in 1 week. That's quite an effort, isn't it? There you go. So they're fantastic. Yeah, that's pretty much wrapped it up, isn't it, Dan? I think it's fair to say. Man, it's been a busy week, hasn't it?
Just a bit.
3 recordings in one go, fantastic. But thank you to everyone for listening. And actually, got to say thank you for all the feedback we've had on the Simo interview, the preview episodes. It's really, really nice to see.
Yeah, our Twitter's blown up, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been great. We're hoping, like I said, hopefully we're going to get a couple of players lined up over the next few months as well. Maybe a little bit more of the backroom staff people, maybe as well. Nice to hear from a few of them and find out a bit more about their jobs too. So yeah, really big thank you once again to the club for that, and thank you everyone for listening to them. We'll be back next week with a preview for the Colchester game. Whether Mike will make that one, I don't know. Depends on his availability, but hopefully we can get him in. And then we'll probably do a mini one as well for the Shrewsbury game after that. But that's where we are right now. So thanks everyone for listening. Look forward to the opening day, and up the Blues.
Up the Blues.